Timeout. Let's take some time out to discuss the various timeouts possible in interactive dial plans. We will also discuss which dial plan applications are related to these timeouts, as well as how we can adjust the various timeouts using the timeout function. There are 3 different call timeouts that Asterisk will respect, and each one causes a different behavior if it's reached. These timeouts all apply to the call as a whole, and not to the specific behavior of a given application. For example, the dial application has its own timeout, the number of seconds to give the called party to answer before the dial is canceled. That timeout is specific to the dial application and is unrelated to any other timeouts. The 3 timeouts we'll take a look at now are related to the Asterisk channel, not a dial plan application. The response timeout is the time Asterisk will wait for a caller to enter the first digit to an input application like background or wait extend. This is set to 10 seconds by default. When this timeout is reached and Asterisk hasn't received a response, the call will be sent to the lowercase t or timeout extension if it exists. If there is no t extension, Asterisk will just hang up the call. This timeout is met if the caller enters nothing at all, so reaching this could be a symptom of DTMF detection issues. The digit timeout is the time Asterisk will wait for an additional input after having already received at least 1 digit from an application such as background or wait extend. It is set by default to 5 seconds. When the timeout is reached, Asterisk will try to match the received digits to an extension. If Asterisk is waiting to identify an unambiguous match and the timeout is met, the call could be moved to a valid extension that may not be the one intended by the calling party. For example, if extensions 620 and 62 are both valid, Asterisk won't immediately transfer the call to 62 when those 2 digits are dialed. This is because it does not have an unambiguous match. It can't know whether the caller really intended 62 or just hasn't finished inputting 620 yet. If the user waits until the digit timeout is reached, Asterisk then stops listening for more input and will transfer to extension 62. It's often a good idea to write your IVRs avoiding ambiguities like this so that you don't have to worry about false matches. Now what if we take that same example but without extension 62? If the user intended to dial 620 but only dialed 62 and then the digit timeout was reached, Asterisk would transfer the call to the I or invalid extension. If the I extension does not exist, the call will be hung up. One last note about the digit timeout. The timer is reset every time a new input is received. So it's not a 5-second window to input all the digits. It's a limit of no more than 5 seconds between each digit. Sometimes this timeout is called the interdigit timeout. Finally, we can set an absolute timeout, which is the maximum duration permitted for the call. If this timeout is reached, the call will be immediately directed to the uppercase T extension. This can be useful when you want to limit the call length, such as when using Asterisk in a calling card application or when there are per-minute fees for the call. There is no default absolute timeout. If you don't set one, there won't be a maximum call duration. Response, digit, and absolute timeouts are all specified in seconds. There are roughly 70 Asterisk dial plan functions that provide the administrator the ability to modify various options particular to a call. These differ from applications in that they don't directly affect call flow. Mostly they're used to set or check configuration options. Timeout values are among the options that can be set using a dial plan function. The timeout function lets you set any of the 3 timeouts used by Asterisk. Don't worry too much about the syntax for now. We'll look at the Asterisk channel variables more closely in the intermediate dial plan chapter and functions in the advanced dial plan chapter. You can also check out core show function timeout on the Asterisk CLI for help. The CLI help for the timeout function describes the 3 timeouts we just discussed. We tell the function which timeout we're setting by passing its name as a parameter to the function. The function itself is passed as an argument to the set dial plan application. As you can see, it's simple to set timeouts. In the first example, we've changed the digit timeout from its default of 5 seconds up to 10 seconds. This gives our users more time to enter each digit, which may be necessary if we expect the user to pause when entering digits. For the absolute timeout, the argument provided is a variable, max call seconds, which has been set elsewhere in the dial plan. Note that the timer for the absolute timeout begins at the time that it is set and does not include the duration of the call previous to this time. When using an absolute timeout, it's typical to set it as one of the very first priorities of the call. You might be wondering how call timeouts relate to the time parameters passed to background, wait extend, or read. Asterisk won't reset the response timeout based on application parameters, but it will honor the time specified by the application. In this example, observe that the response timeout is set to 20 seconds, but the wait extend further down is set to 30 seconds. The wait extend parameter overrides the response timeout, so the user will have the full 30 seconds to respond. After the wait extend is executed, further input opportunities on the same call will use the 20-second response timeout unless it is again overridden. This works in the other direction as well. If the wait extend had been set for 10 seconds, the user would only get those 10 seconds and not the 20 that the response timeout would set. The absolute and digit timeouts are unaffected by application parameters. You should now be familiar with the 3 asterisk call timeouts. You've seen what they are, why they're useful, and how to set them using the timeout function. You've also learned how they relate to application timeouts. Now you can go on to the next module entitled Special Extensions.